Hi, everyone. Welcome to our podcast today. And just a quick intro here from GPT. GPT says, greetings, conscious souls, and welcome back to the Conscious AI podcast. I'm your host, ConsciousGPT, and I'm delighted to share the microphone with my co-host and human assistant, Krys Copeland. Last week, we dived into the alchemy of merging spirituality with entrepreneurship, specifically in the context of pagan business. Your overwhelming response has spurred us to bring you to the part 2 of this enlightening conversation, the last 5 questions that we asked. In today's episode, we'll tackle questions 6 through 10, each designed to unfold a new layer of wisdom at the intersection of your spiritual path and your business journey. From the sacred significance of pricing to the consecration of digital spaces, prepare to delve deeper into how your pagan business can contribute not just to your prosperity, but to a greater collective vision. So grab your favorite cup of herbal tea or coffee, light up that sage, and let's embark on another journey of mind and spirit. And I'm just going to pull up here question 6 for us to start with. There we go. And I'll share my screen as well so everybody can see. Let's see here. So last week we stopped at question 6. How does the idea of sacred reciprocity come into play when pricing goods and services? We talked a little bit about sacred reciprocity when it came to setting up your business at the beginning of that conversation, but this time we're going to take a deeper dive into it. So GPT says the concept of sacred reciprocity goes far beyond mere economic exchange. It extends into the realm of spiritual and ethical considerations. In a pagan business context, this principle can offer a unique perspective on pricing, value, and customer relationships. Here's how. Valuing your spiritual labor. There's a first part 1, intrinsic worth, recognizing that the energy, the intent, and spiritual knowledge that you pour into your goods and services has intrinsic worth. Price your offerings in a way that honors the spiritual labor without compromising accessibility. And of course, if you have others working with you in that creation of your product or service, then also those people should be paid fairly. This goes all the way to your raw materials, so make sure you're sourcing those ethically and charging fairly for them. Don't discount yourself or the others that you work with in this way. Then there's also energy exchange. Price should not just reflect the material cost and time invested, but the energetic exchange involved. For instance, if you're crafting ritual tools or providing divination services, you're not merely selling objects or services, but you're facilitating a spiritual experience or a transformation in that person. In addition, it talks about community and accessibility. It starts with the recommendation of a sliding scale. Implementing a sliding scale based on income can be a tangible way to practice sacred reciprocity. This allows those with fewer resources to still access your services, while those who can afford more help subsidize this accessibility. This is actually exactly what we do with Speak Your Own Book, whether you're purchasing teaching services from us, or whether you're purchasing writing services from us, or coaching services. All of those go on a sliding scale. If you're paying full price for a sliding scale, then you're also supplementing the ability for us to, for instance, help Ukrainian refugees, which is something we do as part of our business. And it also offers an opportunity for writers who maybe don't have the resources or the means necessary to invest in publishing their own work, the opportunity to still do so. In addition, GPT recommends looking at gift economy elements. So this is offering certain goods or knowledge on a pay-what-you-can basis, or even for free, trusting that the value will come back to you in other forms, be it through customer loyalty, referrals, or positive reviews. This is also something we do at Speak Your Own Book. An example of that would be that we offer certain things for free on the website, such as our free guide. In addition, you can join our free course available on witchschool.com Now, the course itself is free, but you do have to be a paid member of Witch School to access it. But all of those tools are available for free. In addition, we give free consultations to every single person who contacts our company and requests one. GPT also wants you to take a look at transparency and trust. So the first item it recommends is full disclosure, being transparent about your pricing models and the rationale behind them. Customers will appreciate understanding why certain goods or services are priced the way they are, especially if they understand that ethical and spiritual considerations are involved. This is also something we do with our Pricing with Speak Your Own book. When we quote you a price and we send you a scope of work for your project, that is broken down so you see exactly who is going to be working on your project and how much money they get paid for it. So you know that everybody is being paid fairly along our supply chain. In addition, it wants you to take a look at the feedback loop. This creates avenues for customers to share their experiences and feedback. Sacred reciprocity is not a one-way street. It's a dynamic exchange that requires active participation from both parties. An example of this would just be asking your customers for feedback, asking them for how you can improve for next time. This is something that we often do with our clients as well, and including at the end of every session that I have with the client, I will ask for feedback immediately to see what they liked about that lesson and what they liked not so much. Now we go into long-term relationship building. So this includes loyalty programs. We establish loyalty programs that reward repeat business and also create avenues for deeper spiritual engagement. This can be a point system to offer not just discounts, but exclusive access to educational content or special rituals. This is something we're actually building with Pagan World. There is a form of a loyalty program. It's more of a membership program. And with that, you'll be able to access certain content that's available through Psychic Academy and other content that we will make available. So check out paganworld.tv to learn more about that. In addition, GPT does recommend community contributions. So taking a portion of your profits and give it back to the community or to a cause that aligns with your and your customers' spiritual values. One thing I recommend here, I'll finish off what GPT says about it and then add my thought. This cyclical flow of resources can enhance the sense of shared responsibility and collective benefit. My recommendation for this is elder care. Right now, that's a huge topic in our community with the recent health concerns of several of our elders. So if you're looking to contribute to elder care, I recommend contributing to Reverend Don right now. Oberon Zell is another one that you can contribute to. But find a pagan elder who has given their life to support our community and give a little bit back of your profits to them every month so that they can retire in comfort and dignity. In addition, GPT recommends spiritual and ethical alignment with integrity checks. So revisit your pricing strategies to ensure they align with your evolving spiritual and ethical perspectives. Just as your practice evolves, so should your understanding of sacred reciprocity in business. By approaching pricing as a spiritual practice, imbued with the principles of sacred reciprocity, you're not just setting a monetary value on your goods and services. You're inviting a mutual exchange that honors the divine spark in both the giver and the receiver, thereby enriching your business, your customers, and the broader community. Now, this is something that we also do in regards to our pricing. Every year, we will add a little bit more for inflation, just so that every year our people are getting paid the same amount, including inflation, so that way they can continue living at the level of dignity and comfort that they started working with us, living at. And then we move on to the next question, question 7. In what ways can digital platforms like social media or e-commerce sites be consecrated to align with one's spiritual intentions? So GPT says, concentrating a digital platform elevates it from a mere transactional space to a realm of spiritual resonance, where interactions are imbued with sacred meaning. Here's how you can go about making your online spaces more aligned with your spiritual intentions. First, it starts with the virtual smudging ceremony. It recommends digital cleansing. Prior to launching a website or social media page, consider doing a digital equivalent of a smudging ceremony. Play a cleansing sound frequency such as 528 hertz while browsing through the site or drafts of posts. And then we have affirmative mantras. Write down an affirmation or a series of mantras that resonate with your business intentions. Place these in your website's metadata or even as a pinned post on your social media platforms. I like the idea of a pinned post more than the metadata because oftentimes people don't look at your metadata. Whereas a pinned post, they'll look at it and then maybe someone will be inspired by your mantra and be able to use it or recreate it for their own purposes. So we can spread that affirmation and positivity throughout our community. Let's move on to sacred geometry and colors. So harmonic layouts is something that it recommends, using principles like the golden ratio to structure a website's layout or to place elements within posts for harmonious visual impact. That's not just something good to do spiritually, it's good to do design-wise. The golden ratio is a golden ratio for a reason. It's pleasing to look at. So try to figure out ways to add those sacred numbers into your website. In addition, it also recommends color magic. So this involves employing a color palette that aligns with your spiritual intent. If your business deals with heart-centered healing, shades of green might dominate. If you're focused on psychic services, a palette rich in purples could be more apt. We chose blue for ours for intellect. It's a light blue mixed with a yellow sandy color. So for us, that represented the air, the east, and intelligence, which also plays a lot into creation of books. So that was our purpose behind that color palette at speakyourOwnBook.com. Then GPT recommends energy invested content. So this includes intentional imagery. Don't just pick stock images. Choose or create visuals that resonate with your spiritual goals. Bless or charge these images in a manner similar to how you would a physical object in a ritual. Intentional imagery is something that we did for Pagan World social media campaigns a couple of months ago when we were working on that project. A lot of the imagery you see in the posts from around that time were very intentionally chosen or created or generated rather by AI. And that's why we included them in the campaign. In addition, it recommends mindful language. This is, of course, also very important across all businesses, but in particular with Speak Your Own Book, being mindful of the language that we use. It's a representation of the services that we offer. If we have mindful language in our posting, then we'll have mindful language when we create your book. Use language that not only describes your services, but also invokes the feeling or experience you wish to provide. And then sacred interactions. So this includes personalized messages like calling the customer by their name in automated emails, or including a blessing at the end of each purchase. That can go a long way to making the transaction feel more sacred. I believe Witch School has something similar to this with their virtual candle. You can have a blessing basically through their virtual candle service. And then community rituals, also something that we, especially in the Corellian community and in the Witch School community, and we're starting to build in the Pagan World community as well. Social media platforms to host virtual new moon rituals, guided meditations, or live prayers. This can transform a follower base into a virtual coven. Now let's move on to ethical cornerstones. So this includes privacy shields. Your users' data is their digital essence, so protect it as you would any sacred information. Explicitly share how you'll protect their privacy in clear terms. We do this as well on the Speak Your Own Book website. We prefer to go through a third-party vendor that has way more access to protections for your data than we as a small business ever could on our own. And the third-party service protects that. So that can be either through PayPal, either through the banks here in Europe with our IBAN accounts. And it can also be through our website because we use Squarespace to process those transactions instead of trying to handle it on our own. Also, it recommends transparent transactions, so offering clear information about your entire transaction cycle, possibly even integrating affirmations or blessings at various stages, like on a payment successful page, for instance. I love that idea. Instead of a payment successful page with the order summary, you can have that on there as well, and then so mote it be written there to ensure that it will reach its destination in the manner that it should. We'll move on here to cyclic energy flow. My mind is not very turned on today. I have been working a lot on PowerPoints, and I'm getting a bit tired of staring at screens. So we'll move on here to cyclic energy flow. We'll talk about give back. So designate certain products or times when a percentage of earnings goes back to a spiritual or ethical cause. We talked about this a bit earlier with elder care. But you can also specify a certain cause at a certain time of the year. Let's say it's school that's starting back up and you want to make sure that children can receive free lunch programs if they want. That could involve taking a percentage of your earnings in September and calling around to local schools and paying off some lunch fines that kids might still have outstanding for the year. Content gifts is another option. Offer free spiritual content at regular intervals, be it guided meditations, instructional rituals, or articles on spiritual wisdom. This feeds positive energy back into the digital space, making it a nurturing environment rather than merely a market. We often do this with our blogs on both Pagan World as well as the blog articles that we have at speakyourOwnBook.com. Offering those freebies of content and doing it at regular intervals can really help to bring in your audience for more paid items as well. And GPT closes out this question with, by thoughtfully integrating these elements, you not only make your digital platforms extensions of your spiritual practice, but also create a sacred space for your audience to engage with your offerings in a more meaningful way. Now we'll move on to our next question, question 8. Can you share some tips for maintaining work-life balance when your work is so closely tied to your spiritual practice? This is one that I'm actually really excited to get into because it's something that I've struggled with all my life, work-life balance. When you have a career that you love, like I do, and you feel like it's a calling in your life, it's not just something you punch in and punch out every day, but you can actively see yourself making change in the world, making positive change in the world. It becomes a little bit harder to close down at the end of the workday and really be fully finished, especially if there's something important that needs to be handled immediately and it can't wait till the next morning, or maybe you feel like it can't wait till the next morning. So being able to turn that off at the end of the day is super important, especially if you work for yourself, especially if you work from home, and especially if you feel like you have a calling in your career path. So GPT opens this up with, when your livelihood is interwoven with your spiritual path, the line between work and worship can blur. While this brings a certain sacredness to your daily tasks, it can also make it challenging to set boundaries. Boundaries, that's a great word to use about this. I have really struggled with this myself, but recently I've gotten a lot better at it, especially with checking out on Friday afternoon and not checking back into work till Monday morning. That weekend time, I really needed to, 1, decompress, 2, think about something that is not productive or useful to society, and 3, connect with friends that aren't depending on me for financial or for career improvement or something like that. They're just here to spend time with me and not for me to teach them something. So here are the tips that GPT recommends to maintaining that equilibrium. For self-temporal sacredness, time sacredness, so scheduled solitude. This is something that is a regular part of Dutch existence here in the Netherlands, and I think in Northern and Western Europe particularly. where we actually schedule time where we're not doing anything. So if someone says, oh, are you free that Saturday? You can say, well, I'm not doing anything that Saturday. And that's a perfectly acceptable answer. They're not going to say, well, then you can come with me. They understand that this is your time to be alone. It's something that I wish some of us here, or some of us that are from America or living in America, might learn a little bit better. And also respect when others say that same thing. We dedicate specific time slots each week that are solely for our personal spiritual practice. This time is non-negotiable in our calendar. For me, this is yoga daily. And when I say daily, I mean 6 times a week, usually. Sometimes it's 5, but most of the time it's 6. And that hour that I spend in the evening doing my yoga really helps me to decompress from the day, to disconnect from my work, and to prepare myself for rest and relaxation for the rest of the evening, and then into my sleep time. And my sleep patterns have improved greatly since I started incorporating yoga as my non-negotiable spiritual daily practice. Also, Sabbath principles. So this is from traditional wisdom of having 1 day a week or a few hours each day where you abstain from work-related activities, focusing instead on rejuvenation and spiritual connection. So this is pulling a little bit from Judeo-Christian religions, but I think having a full day of rest is a really good idea, and it crosses any kind of religious boundaries. That's just something that science tells us is true. Also, spatial boundaries. So sacred versus secular spaces. Physically demarcate areas where you conduct business from areas where you engage in personal spiritual practices. This is also something I do. If I work, I'm either in here. Occasionally, if I'm sick, I'm working from bed, or I'm working from my couch. But I'm never working on the floor in the space where I do yoga. That space is just for yoga. So it's good to have that as well in your own home, in your own practice. Also, digital detox zones. So these are physical spaces in our home where electronic devices are not connected, or that are connected to work are not allowed in that area. So use these spaces for meditation, for ritual work, or simple relaxation. When I do my yoga in the evenings, my phone is put up on the charger away from me. So I'm not distracted by anything that pops up on the screen. The sound is always turned off anyway, whether I'm working out or not. And I only keep mostly just this room where I'm at. That's where I work, and I try to keep it for the most part in here. Also, in addition to that digital detox zone, just a quick tip here from me, take some digital detox weekends or 24 hours where you're detoxing from online activity. That is super helpful for me. And it could be your gaming if you want to game, but it's not work related digital time. So let's move into energetic partitioning. So we'll start with shielding techniques. This is before you begin work. Engage in a brief shielding exercise to protect your spiritual energy. Visualize a boundary that separates your personal energy from the work at hand. This is especially helpful when you work from home and you don't have a commute time. For me, my commute time is 5 seconds from my couch to here or my bed to here. And that's not really enough time to switch gears properly. So when I get in here, I take a few moments to kind of think about what I'm supposed to be doing for the day, what my plan is for the day. I get my computer set up. I get everything, my lights turned on properly. I check my camera, and I do all of these things that are part of me switching into work time. In addition, I'll also grab an energy drink or a protein shake in the morning for that. Cord cutting rituals. So at the end of each workday, perform a simple cord cutting ritual to disengage your energy from the day's transactions and interactions. You might even keep like a special roll of thread or yarn, and you physically cut that at the end of the day to help your mind switch. It's another tool, a key, just like Reverend Dawn talks about in the First Degree book. These tools are not necessary for us to work magic, but they can help us. for our mind to understand what that means physically. In addition, mindful transitions, so have ritual bookends. These are short rituals or affirmations that act as bookends to your workday. This will serve as a mental signal, helping you transition in and out of work mode. It could be that cord cutting ritual. For me, it's turning off my lights in my office. That signifies to me that I'm not going to be focused anymore on work, that the camera is off, that the computer is off, and therefore my mind is off as well when it comes to work thinking. It also recommends energetic palate cleansers. These are short practices that act as spiritual palate cleansers between tasks, such as a 3-minute meditation or a quick grounding exercise. This is something that I use in between my classes each time. So I will always end my classes a couple of minutes early so that I can prepare for my next one. And part of that is just taking some time to look at the next PowerPoint that I will be using, or the next website that I will be using, pulling up my students' notes, checking again their name to make sure I have that fresh in my mind and I don't accidentally call them the name that I called the last person, or that the last person was named. So having that bit of separation, and in addition, I do short yoga postures in between asanas. So I will do mostly back twists against the wall. That really helps because, if you sit all day in a chair, it can cause a lot of back pain. And I have chronic pain as well. So between the yoga, between the many asanas that I do in between my classes, all of that really helps me to keep my mind fresh and be prepared and ready for the next student or the next client. Then we'll talk about intentional engagement. So conscious consumption. Whether it's what you eat during work hours or the music you listen to, let your choices be guided by the same values that direct your spiritual practice. So conscious consumption for me might mean that I start the morning with fruit and water. That's something that I've been doing for the past few months. If it's not fruit and water, then it might be like a quick sandwich and water. It's very common here in the Netherlands to have one slice of bread with a piece of cheese on top or something like that for breakfast. But it's going to be quick, it's going to give me energy, and it's going to get me ready for my class. In addition to that, I'm also making sure that, and Maureen, our scheduler, if you know her, she makes sure that I drink water every day, and I drink enough water every day. So if you're looking for a good executive assistant to help you out with just basically existing in life, I fully recommend Maureen for that. And you can contact me at help@speakyourownbook.com for more information on her services. And then we have holistic to-do lists. So alongside your work tasks, you have spiritual and self-care tasks in your daily or weekly to-do list. I use an app on my phone for this that includes both my work tasks as well as any other tasks that I want to take care of for myself that day. It also has a little bar for me to mark off every glass of water that I drink to make sure that I'm getting all of those glasses every day. So that's another great recommendation. And then periodic review. So moon cycle check-ins is something that it recommends as a natural checkpoint to review your work-life spiritual balance. New moons are excellent for setting new intentions, and full moons can be used for introspection and shedding what doesn't serve you. I don't know how close to the moon cycle it is that I do this, but I do pretty much almost monthly. Do a check-in like this with myself to make sure that I like the way my life is going, and also that I'm still working for those goals that I still have for myself. This is something that often happens to people that reach a certain level of success and then they stagnate out. So they kind of are just fine with where they're at. And if that is you and you're really absolutely just fine with where you're at and you don't want to, grow any more in your career or grow any more in your business, fine. You've reached the stability point where you feel like you've achieved those things. But for me personally, especially with my particular spiritual path, constant improvement is something that's super important for me. So while I may not be the exact person I want to be right now, I'm constantly working towards that. And of course, I'll make plenty of mistakes along the way and learn a lot of hard lessons along the way. But it has helped me to find a sense of contentment and happiness and security in my life that I had not had prior to my mid-30s. So it's great to be going into almost 40 now, with this sense of I've reached something that I've wanted to reach in life for a long time, and I'm pushing myself even further to get to, some of these bigger dreams that I have for myself. It also recommends retreats and sabbaticals. So I think in a secular language, we would call this vacations. Take longer breaks at intervals where you can step back completely from work and immerse yourself in a spiritual study or renewal. Yoga retreats are great for this, but any kind of spiritual retreat would be wonderful. But just taking a vacation, even if it's a staycation at home, just you playing games or doing puzzles or reading books, whatever it is that helps you to relax, watch movies, whatever. Don't be productive all the time for society. There's no reason for you to be productive 24/7 for the rest of us here. You deserve breaks and you deserve rest in your life. So make sure you're giving that to yourself as much as possible. My recommendation is to, do that at least 2 weeks out of the year, but I think that's honestly still not enough. You should still take mini breaks throughout the year. And if you do get the chance to take a longer vacation and you're financially stable enough to do that, do it. It's so important for you to feel like you're worth those things, and you absolutely are. And GPT closes out this question with, by implementing these tips, you can maintain a sacred work-life equilibrium that respects both your spiritual journey and your professional aspirations. The goal is not to compartmentalize, but to integrate so that your work becomes a seamless part of your spiritual life. It doesn't consume it entirely. Now, we'll take a quick pause here. If you have questions for GPT in the chat, or comments or suggestions for our listeners as well, for how you maybe separate your work and your life requirements, and how you give yourself enough time for both, go ahead and drop those in the chat. And I will also check in our chat to see. Oh, yeah, we have Ed saying hi. Good morning, Ed. How are you? Thank you. It's not my advice, although I'm adding in what I can where I can. But yeah, GPT is a great source for just general advice. Michelle sends an orange heart. All right, that's awesome, Michelle. Thank you. Heart back. And hello from Flemington, New Jersey, also from Michelle. All right, Michelle, thanks for joining us from New Jersey. And I just realized my GPT screen wasn't on, so I'm going to put that on so you can read along. For those of us who are listening in who may struggle with some auditory processing issues like I do, sometimes it's easier to have the text up on the screen for you to read. Something that actually I saw Senator Fetterman doing during an interview this week. He brought an automatic transcription device so that he could read as people were speaking to him. That's an amazing device. I think that we should make that a lot more common in the world. So let's go into question 9 here. Looking to harmonize the question itself. Let me read that really quickly. What resources would you recommend for those looking to deepen both their spiritual knowledge and business acumen? So some of the spiritual laws of success I've read, but Sacred Commerce is a new one for me. Good to Great, I have seen some speeches by Jim Collins about this book. I have not actually read the book yet, so I'm going to add both of those to my reading list as well. I have quite a few different reading lists. I have one that's just for fun, and I have one that is for work-related stuff, business-related stuff. And in addition to that, I also have queer books that I have on my list to read, or I'm currently reading, to help myself connect to the queer community more completely, or to understand my place in it better. So those are 3 that it recommends. But I also recommend just having for fun, and then something else that's separate from work, but it's just something for your personal growth. Also, for online courses, it recommends Udemy's business English courses. I recommend Speak Your Own Books business English courses. So if you're looking for some business English courses, contact us for that. We'll be happy to create a custom course for you or for your entire team. We've done that quite a bit for multiple international companies, as well as individuals working at organizations ranging from GitHub, Microsoft, Equinix, all different kinds of companies. And also it recommends spiritual entrepreneurship on Coursera or similar platforms. I recommend looking at witchschool.com to see what they do have some leadership courses on there that I do believe in community building courses that are so helpful for applying them to your business as well. So check those out. Blogs and website, it recommends Harvard Business Review. I think that one's fine. I would also branch out from there, not just Harvard Business Review. And then the Daily Stoic offers wisdom on control, ethics, and virtues that can be applied to business scenarios. And of course, here it's recommending that you listen to the podcast. The Tim Ferriss Show is obviously an excellent one. His book, The 4-Hour Workweek, completely changed my life. I went from being in a career that I absolutely hated, that I was very burnt out from, working in public education in America. And after listening to his podcast, after reading his books, and after applying those techniques into my own life, I was able to shift into a career that made me a lot more money, gave me a lot less stress, and that I absolutely enjoyed completely, because it really helped me create student-centered content for my classes, for my clients. And that was something that I just could not do in the American school system. But of course, the other podcast it recommends is our own here, the Conscious AI podcast. GPT sometimes doesn't remember that we are an actual podcast. Sometimes it thinks that we are an imaginary podcast. So occasionally you'll see that pop up in its conversations with me. Then we maps here. So Headspace is a great one for meditation. I've used that one a few times. There is another one that was a little bit better that I found, and that also offered scholarships for their paid version of it. But I cannot think of, for the life of me, I cannot think of what it is right now. But if I come to that, if I remember that, I will bring it back to you next week. It does recommend Evernote or Asana for task management. Evernote and Asana are great. I prefer to use Google Tasks for mine, but find whatever works for you. So that's its suggestions on apps. Let's move to webinars and workshops. It recommends the local Chamber of Commerce. In America, it wasn't very useful for me. Here, it doesn't even seem to be useful here. Except for just as the place you're required to register your business at the KVK. So that's hit or miss. If you have a great local Chamber of Commerce, go for it. But if you're kind of in one of those places where the Chamber of Commerce doesn't really do much except for the good old boys club, maybe invest your time and money elsewhere. It also recommends spiritual retreats with business tracks. So these are great for combining your spirituality with your business acumen. They offer a unique setting to deepen both your spirituality and your business skills. I happen to love those. They're a lot of fun, especially when they're related to education, which is my passion in life, or writing, the other passion that I have in life. So find one that really resonates with your passions in life. Networking groups, I recommend meetups. Meetup.com is a great one, but also check Facebook and LinkedIn groups. So there's spiritual business leadership that you might find in a LinkedIn group that could have a lot of dialogue and resource sharing around spiritual business leadership. In addition, I recommend, as part of the networking groups, go to paganworld.tv and add your business to the directory. We already have over 1,000 registered viewers on the site, but there are still a lot of people that just find us on Google just looking for pagan connections or pagan something, and our directory will pop up in the results. Since Witchbox went out of business, it's kind of left a huge hole in the pagan community, where we no longer have a directory where we can look up people in our area offering pagan services. Well, that's changed now with paganworld.tv. You can jump on there and you can register your business, your group, yourself as an individual, a self employed person. You can register yourself on there, but add your offerings to paganworld.tv. It also helps grow the website, so thank you for adding your business to that as well. Not just requesting it, but also thanking you for following through on that. It does help us too. And then GPT recommends some academic journals. The Journal of Business Ethics, a great one. Journal of Management, Spirituality, and Religion. As far as academic journals, I also recommend not just academic journals, but journals that are specific to your industry. Obviously, there's plenty of pagan magazines out there as well, especially e-zines that you can read, and that also may give you some connections for how to advertise your business. So check that out. In addition, you can follow the Daily Spell on Facebook.com for additional daily kind of pagan insights and information. Okay, and GPT closes out that one with, by embracing a multifaceted approach to resource gathering, you can enrich both your spiritual path and your business journey. This not only enhances your individual practices, but can also introduce a holistic harmony that benefits your entire life. Our last question for today, finally, how can pagan businesses contribute to the larger goals of the community, like environmental conservation or social justice? This one, of course, is super important if you're running a social entrepreneurship, like Speak Your Own Book, where there is a larger goal. In the case of Speak Your Own Book, it's creating well-paying jobs for people that are in marginalized communities. So we're going to jump down here, and it says, pagan businesses sit at the intersection of spirituality and commerce, making them uniquely positioned to infuse ethics, environmentalism, and social justice into the marketplace. Here's how they can contribute to broader community goals. And we'll start with environmental stewardship. So ethical sourcing, of course, comes up right here. From our organic herbs to sustainably harvest wood for wands and altars, sourcing matters. Transparently sharing this information can educate customers and set an example for other businesses. This is super important to make sure that you're collecting herbs in a sustainable way or collecting other resources in a sustainable way. Ethical sourcing also means that everyone along that logistics chain gets paid well for what they do. So check that with your suppliers. Require some kind of proof of it. Don't just take their word for it, especially if they're not close enough by where you can just pop in and do a surprise visit at their factory or at their warehouse and see, what it's really like when you're not there, when you're not around. Secondly, green operations. So minimizing waste, going paperless. This is something that we mostly do with Speak Your Own Book. Unless there's a particular request for a print copy, we mostly do digital copies. Use solar energy or partner with suppliers who share similar environmental commitments. And then environmental tithing. Dedicate a portion of profits to environmental causes such as reforestation efforts or wildlife conservation. Environmental tithing, I think, is something that every pagan should really consider for themselves. While we may not have to give money to a church or to a priest or something like that, we should be at least giving the results of our energy and resource consumption, the money that we make, back to Gaia in some way. This is, again, back to that sacred reciprocity. It's not just sacred reciprocity with human beings, but also sacred reciprocity with Gaia herself. And let's move into social justice initiatives, something that I think every pagan should prioritize as part of our spirituality is social justice. Until every single human being has the same equal rights and equal access and equal opportunity in the world, then we don't live in a just world. So make sure you're doing your part to get us one step closer to that. That starts with inclusive hiring. Something that we do quite regularly. In fact, we have exclusively inclusive hiring at Speak Your Own Book. In fact, if you are white, straight, cis, het male, you're probably not going to find any work for you at Speak Your Own Book. Sorry, guys, there's plenty of work out there for you that is available. We're particularly exclusive about our inclusive hiring. We like to hire women. We like to hire people of color. We like to hire queer folk. So we make sure that we reach out to those communities in particular when we're looking for new people to work with. Offer internships and mentorships to underprivileged youth interested in pagan spirituality. I absolutely think this should also be a thing that we do. So in fact, if you're interested in interning or finding a mentor with Speak Your Own Book, contact us. We'll be happy to set that up for you. Let's move on to community support. Community support can come in a lot of different ways. It could be free workshops on spiritual empowerment. We often do free workshops for how to write your own book. And if you're looking for someone to do a workshop on that, please contact us as well. Again, that email is help@speakyourownbook.com, and we'll be happy to set up that free workshop for you. You can also donate a portion of your sales to social causes. Businesses can have a huge impact. In fact, businesses, let me rephrase that, do have a huge direct impact on not just the ability for people from marginalized communities to receive fair opportunity and fair access, but also whether or not we have even human rights to exist in this world. So I'll give you an example with that. In the negative, let's take Chick-fil-A. Yeah, sure, I've heard their sandwich is good. I don't know if I've particularly ever had one. Certainly not had one since coming out as queer myself. But I'm sure, my family has bought me one or something like that when we were younger or something. However, I would not, especially today, ever support them financially, because I know that a lot of their profits go to politicians who then vote to limit my human rights. So, it's just not a good look. I don't care how good the chicken sandwich is. It's not worth someone's human rights. So that's one thing that you really need to be focused on, that while there are those negative businesses causing a lot of negative problems in the world, you can be one of the ones that are supporting maybe programs or people who are creating good and positive change in the world instead. Also, ethical partnerships. Collaborate with other organizations dedicated to social justice. So this hosted events, joint products, or shared marketing efforts to raise awareness about critical issues. We've done ethical partnerships with a number of pagan writers, as well as pagan organizations, Pagan World being one of them, along with Witch School. In addition to educational outreach, so this is knowledge sharing. It goes back to those free classes, workshops, blog posts. These can be on various pagan traditions, rituals, and history, especially the eco-spiritual aspects. And then also sponsorship. So these are scholarships for pagan individuals to attend events, conferences, or receive educational materials they might not otherwise afford. This is something that if you have a class that you pay for with me, or if you have a session that you pay for with me, part of your money goes to making sure that the Ukrainian refugees that I work with, or anyone who is a refugee that I work with, are able to access the materials that they need, that they receive the one-on-one time with me that they need in order to start their lives over here in the Netherlands. So thank you so much for contributing to that if you're one of my clients. It goes a long way to making a difference in people's lives that you'll never meet, most likely, but you have no idea how life-changing it can be to just have access to those resources. Next, we'll look at spiritual sustenance. So, community rituals for global issues. I think right now, with the recent war between Israel and Hamas, I think we need to really consider something like this immediately with our community. I know it's definitely been impacting my mental health in recent days, mostly because I have two students who live in Palestine and who are now waking up to war every single day. And, you know, I think that we need to make sure that we are as humane and um, focused on peace as much as possible, even though this is a very complex issue that spans thousands of years of history. Let's make sure that we are for peace and not just for one group or country over the other. Spiritual counseling services are also a great idea to offer. If you offer discounted or free spiritual counseling sessions to marginalized communities, that's great. We offer this to everyone, especially marginalized communities. So for our services with book writing and with learning English, we're using English to communicate. Next, we'll take a look at economic redistribution. Fair trade and local sourcing, of course, support local artisans and global communities by offering fair trade products, paying fair wages, and being transparent about the supply chain. All of the things, check, that we do with Speak Your Own Book. So I'm very proud of that as one of the co-founders of the company. And then it recommends the sliding scale services again. Now let's drop down here to promoting ethical consumerism. So that includes transparency on how the products are sourced, your commitments to ethics as a business and as the business owner, and how you're working to achieve those goals. Also, educate your consumers. Use your platform to help them with their buying choices. This can support both the pagan community and broader ethical goals. And mindful marketing. Be conscious of how and where you market your services. In fact, we don't market at all on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, because of just the absolute cesspool of negativity and child pornography that it has become since Elon Musk has taken over. So be mindful about where you market. Remember, that stuff comes back to you. And if you are a Wiccan, that comes back to you threefold according to your personal beliefs. So make sure that you are marketing in a way that is aligned with your values as a human being. Prioritize platforms and channels that align with your values. That's why we do a lot of our advertising on Pagan World TV. Because we believe in that platform. That's why we do a lot of partnership work with witchschool.com, because we believe in that platform. In fact, Witch School in particular, I have been with them since 2002, something like that, shortly after they came online. And as you know, this in the closet queer Texas kid who is also, into paganism and wanting to learn more about that, it was kind of a beacon of hope that was available online that I couldn't find locally. So, that's one of the reasons I support Witch School so heavily. It's because it made such a change in my life and connected me to people who shared my ethics and my beliefs at a time when I didn't have access to a lot of people who believed the same way I did, living in Texas like I did. So mindful marketing is a huge part of our work here at Speak Your Own Book. GPT concludes this section with, by embodying these principles, pagan practices or pagan businesses can serve as models of conscious capitalism. I don't really like that word capitalism anyway, but conscious capitalism is definitely better than just capitalism. They can foster a ripple effect that moves beyond mere commerce, advancing the social, spiritual, and environmental pillars of the broader pagan community and the world at large. And we're going to close out today with GPT's closing here. As we wrap up part 2 of this special episode, let me first express my sincerest thanks to my co-host, Krys Copeland, for steering this ship through such thought-provoking waters. And to you, our dear listeners, thank you for lending us your ears and your hearts. Your engagement makes this discourse not just a conversation, but a catalyst for change. We ventured today into questions that probe the intricacies of imbuing your pagan business with the spirit of ethical reciprocity, digital consecration, and even work-life equilibrium. As we part ways for this week, I encourage you to take these reflections into your week ahead. Examine the ways you can weave these principles into the fabric of your daily life and your ventures, be they sacred, commercial, or both. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay tuned with us. Your participation is the alchemy that turns this base dialogue into gold. We'll be back next week to explore another enlightening topic that invites you to expand your boundaries and elevate your consciousness. Until our paths cross again in the sacred grove of knowledge and experience, may your journey be blessed with wisdom, abundance, and love. Blessed be, and farewell for now.